Salutations. Welcome to another episode of Foxx Plays, KSP The Workshop. And once again, this is kind of where I post videos about cool things that I've made or a cool mod that I've found or something like that. But today, it's going to be actually kind of more of the same from last time. Because, I've been playing with Blue Dog Design Bureau just constantly, and it's amazing. And, so we'll hop into the VAB here, and, welcome to the madness. Alright, so here it is, right? This is pretty simple. The first video was, I had built kind of a Thorad type thing and launched Sunset 1 on it for the first workshop video, and at about the same time I was just kind of fiddling around with parts and just putting stuff together to see what would fit, and I came up with this. That first rocket was called I called LV Alpha, and this one, LV Beta. Alright, seems pretty simple. I mean, it's got this kind of weird 3-tank thing going, but, sure, why not? And it's basically just that. It's an Agena, kind of, with 3 Vanguard tanks and some Atlas sustainer engines underneath, and that's basically it. And this is where it all started. Alright, so that turned into all of this. So it's called LV Beta, right? So I figured I needed, I trimmed it down and kind of cleaned it up, but I needed a name. And at first I was going to call it, Van Atlas, right? Because, Vanguard tanks, Atlas engines. Alright, fair enough, but it didn't really strike me. It's cool, it sounds like Van Allen, but But I was thinking, let's pay homage to the Beta roots, right? So I decided to go with a B name. What better name than Brunhilde, Shield Maiden and Valkyrie. So yeah, called it Brunhilde. And the kind of early development started just like this. It was just putting various Agena upper stages on it. Right, that was A, so it had the the earlier engine, and the Agena D. Pretty simple stuff. Then it started getting a bit more elaborate. With that's the one, I think. Right. So that's a very big Agena stage. It's still, kind of an Agena. It uses that engine, but it's big. I call that Agena F. But it was about this time that I started thinking, okay, well, what does Brunhilde 1 look like? This is a neat side project, but what does Brunhilde 1 actually look like? And it's at this point that I should point out that I'm not actually, this isn't a fake history at all. This is my thought process for the last couple days while I was putting these all together. So these developed basically the way that I'm describing. So I built this, right? It's a neat upper stage, you might say. Well, it's basically a very short tank from the Thor package, and is coupled with an adapter to a Deleth K75. And this actually turns out to be a pretty good engine, all things considered. Or a pretty good upper stage, is what I meant to say. So a pretty good upper stage right there. And so I started playing around with that. And I decided, okay, that's good enough, and it's kind of unique enough that I can say, yeah, that launcher is all me, right? So I called that Brunhilde 1A. I started playing around with, okay, what else can I do with this upper stage? And for the record, I called that upper stage Sigurd. So that is the Sigurd upper stage. And here you see me beginning to experiment with a better attachment system, a better way of coupling Brunhilde to the Sigurd upper stage. And so this is just an adapter, and then the engine, and then small diameter decoupler, and built my own fairing. So alright, that's pretty cool. You know, it's starting to look like a pretty serious rocket here. But it gets... Oh, we've got a ways to go yet. Boy, do I tell you what. So then we started getting into some weird stuff. So then we had, alright, stuff like that, right? I was like, well, you know, what if I want to use this upper stage, but my payload isn't very big? What if it's a very small payload? Well, you can use that. And strangely enough, this actually has better stats than the other one. I'm not sure why. Like, it has more delta V. I don't really know how that works. Don't ask me. It's physically smaller, but it has more delta V. But yeah, so that's kind of an oddball. I've got a long tank version of that. I'll just show you that real quick. Where's that? Right. So that's kind of an oddball, but yeah. So at this point, I started thinking, well, all right, let's push this as far as we can go, right? Let's take this to the logical extreme. How far can we get with this whole Sigurd upper stage idea? And that's Brunhilde 1E. It's just massive. That's the same deal. It's just one Deleth K75, but yeah, it's pushing a whole Titan 1 upper stage with it. But that's pretty cool, right? That's a pretty serious rocket. And I quite like how this is turning out, right? Oh, it gets worse. Oh, right, and I totally forgot this. It's at some point during all that, I decided, well, okay, what does the Brunhilde 1 ICBM look like? So it's just first stage without an upper stage. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty mean-looking ICBM, if I do say so, and I do. So at this point, with the Agena F, I'll just show that again. Or, sorry, not Agena F. With Brunhilde 1E, I mean, that's about as far as you can take that. You go any further, and the first stage just is not enough, and it starts looking pretty puny. Like, it gets really top-heavy if you start pushing much further than that. So it's like, okay, well, I really want to keep developing this rocket family. This is a lot of fun. So maybe it's time to call it quits with Brunhilde 1 and start working on Brunhilde 2. And I think the first one I built looked something like that. That was, I think, the first Brunhilde 2. So that's alright. That's fair. It's bigger. It's hard to tell at first, but I mean, you know, the first version had Vanguard tanks attached to Atlas engines, and this time we went all the way up to Redstone tanks. Same engines, same number of engines, but bigger tanks. And it's just a Sigurd A upper stage there. But I pretty quickly started realizing that, you know, this Sigurd thing, you know, it was cool and all, but you know, and there's the bigger one. I did away with the kind of conical tank things. Those looked a little silly, right? So at this point, I was starting to have trouble with the upper stages, right? That what was it, the E upper stage, the Sigurd E, is just huge. I was having problems with thrust, right? Thrust was starting to be a big issue, so I started playing around with weird ideas like this, right? And this is weird. So I called this Brunhilde 2C-2, and it's called -2 because it's got two engines. It's the same engine, the Deleth K75, but there's two of them. But it's got this weird, like, it goes out and it goes in. I don't know. It's cool. It's interesting. I have kind of a soft spot because it was kind of the birth of something. It was the first part of the next step, but it is kind of a weird one. It was about the same time that I started looking at thrust augmentation. So we'll look at that real quick here. So that's just a standard Sigurd C or Sigurd E, I can't remember. But yeah, we started adding casters to this, and it looks a little weird when you add external boosters to this, just because of that three-way symmetry, right? It's a little weird. But yeah, there's cool stuff there, and yeah, it gets worse. So that where'd it go? Right, the 2C2, right? This two-engine business got me thinking. Well, I kind of want to put a Centaur up here, but I don't want to put a Centaur up here. I want something that works like a Centaur, but if I put just a Centaur up there, then I don't know. That's boring, right? It's not a stage that I designed. It's just a stage that you can make, right? It's there. It's what's intended, playing by the rules. So I decided I wanted to design basically Centaur, but I wanted to put my own spin on it. So enter the Jormungand. So as you can see, it's the same size as Centaur, more or less, give or take, but it uses that engine setup that we looked at. There were a couple different engine setups that I wanted to use, but honestly, this just works so well that I wound up using it. And so I used the same engine. So Jormungand developed from Sigurd. It's the kind of natural development. But I used these Atlas tanks. I think these are from Atlas 2, maybe Atlas 3. I can't remember. But yeah, that's the short one. And we've got Jormungand B. And then we've got kind of a return to form with the those kind of oddballs from earlier in the development. We've got the Jormungand B2, and it's got this weird conical deal going on, and I don't know if I like that, but it's interesting. It's a weird proposal. Right, so with the Jormungands, again, at some point, put that together, and boy, does that look fearsome. It's the Brynhildr 2 ICBM. So that looks mean. And actually, yeah, it was when I put that together and I did the Jormungand stuff. Think Centaur. I thought, this lower stage is again kind of I'm outgrowing it again, and so I went one bigger, and this time I actually developed the ICBM first. Oh, no, that's not it. Ignore me! There we go. Boom! So again, I had to kind of tweak this upper bit just to have the transition look right, but yeah, I've moved from Vanguard tanks to Redstone tanks up to long tank Thor. It's just nuts. And yeah, I briefly played around with having these engines, which are the Thor booster engines, as opposed to the Atlas booster engines as opposed to the Atlas sustainer engines, but I actually went back. So yeah, that's the ICBM. And I started playing around, and this is where it kind of breaks down. This is where I am right now in development, and I don't really know where I'm going from here, but we'll take a few looks at some things that I've done. So that's a Jormungand B on top of Brynhildr 3, and it's basically at this point the engines are starting to kind of fail me. They're just not big enough. They don't have enough thrust, so I have to thrust augment basically everything. If it has an upper stage at all, it needs thrust augmentation. So this is kind of an early idea of just going with 6 as opposed to 3. And what else we got? We got 3A Jormungand B. Is that just the same thing? That's just the same thing. And we've got, this is kind of the latest development. This is the newest one. I haven't properly put this in its naming convention yet, but look at that. Oh yeah. So we've moved from the Gem 40s all the way up to the these things. What is it? The CGR 60s. So from Ruby to Sapphire, skipping Emerald entirely. So yeah, and this thing flies like a beaut. Like it's an absolute joy. It's fun. It turns over when it's supposed to. Decouples properly. Everything. It's just great. So anyway, yeah, this is my crazy wacky rocket family that I developed with BDB or Blue Dog Design Bureau, and I want you to just think about this, right? Keep this image in your mind, because we're going to go back to that. Oh, well, the madness continues. Anyway, I have been Fox. This has been KSP. I hope to bring you more soon. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care.